Before we begin, welcome back. If you enjoy emotional stories about family, resilience, and the unexpected moments that change ordinary lives forever, take a second to subscribe to the channel. Every new story reminds us that even after life's darkest nights, hope can still find a way in. Now let's begin. I never imagined I would tell strangers about my life. For years, I convinced myself that some stories belonged in silence. They were too ordinary to matter, too painful to explain, and too personal to hand over to people who had never met me. But something changed as I got older. Maybe it was the realization that everyone is carrying a hidden battle. Maybe it was the hope that someone somewhere might hear my story and feel a little less alone. I'm 47 years old. I'm divorced. I'm a registered nurse. And I'm raising my teenage son on my own. If you've ever worked the night shift in a hospital, you already know what it does to a person. Time stops making sense. Monday feels like Thursday. Breakfast happens at sunset. Sleep becomes something you negotiate with instead of something you enjoy. Most people think nursing is about medicine. It isn't. It's about people. It's about standing beside strangers during the worst moments of their lives while quietly carrying your own problems home every morning. Every shift leaves something behind. Sometimes it's exhaustion. Sometimes it's sadness. Sometimes it's the memory of a patient whose family couldn't arrive in time. Those memories don't disappear when you clock out. They ride home with you. By the time I pull into my driveway, the sun is usually climbing into the sky while my body is begging for sleep. The neighborhood is waking up just as I'm trying to shut the world out. Then my second job begins. Being mom. My son Ethan is 15. He's funny when he wants to be. Smart enough to argue himself out of almost anything. Stubborn enough to test every rule I make. He's at that age where he acts like he doesn't need me anymore, but every now and then he'll accidentally remind me that he still does. Those moments are rare. That's why I treasure them. Life after my divorce settled into a rhythm that felt impossible to escape. Work, sleep, laundry, groceries, bills, repeat. There wasn't much room left for dreams. At some point, I stopped asking myself what made me happy. I was too busy making sure my son had everything he needed. Children don't always notice what parents give up. They aren't supposed to. That's part of the job. But sometimes, late at night while driving to work, I'd wonder who I used to be before life became a list of responsibilities. The answer surprised me when it arrived. Bowling. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Of all the hobbies in the world, I rediscovered myself inside a bowling alley. It started almost by accident. One of the nurses invited me to substitute for her League One Thursday evening. I almost said no. Actually, I did say no. 3 times. Then she kept asking until I finally agreed. I hadn't bowled seriously in almost 20 years. The first game was embarrassing. I threw gutter balls. My timing was terrible. Everyone laughed. Including me. For the first time in months, maybe years, I laughed without forcing it. Something inside me woke up. The following week I went back. Then the week after that. Soon I wasn't showing up because someone invited me. I was showing up because I wanted to. Practice became therapy. Every roll down the lane felt like releasing another piece of stress I'd been carrying. People there didn't know me as the exhausted nurse. Or the divorced woman. Or the single mother trying to hold everything together. They just knew me as Karen. Someone who loved the game and celebrated every strike like she'd won the lottery. Months passed. My scores improved. My confidence returned. Eventually our league coach pulled me aside. "You know," he said, "you could qualify for the regional tournament." I laughed. He didn't. A week later I entered the qualifying event. Against every expectation, including my own, I earned a spot. The tournament would be held 3 hours away. For the first time in years, I felt excited about something that belonged entirely to me. Then reality interrupted. My son. Leaving him home alone for an entire weekend wasn't exactly an option. I tried something similar once before. That disaster still lived in family history. One of his friends had convinced him they should build a homemade skateboard ramp inside our garage. By the time I got home, one wall had a hole in it, my gardening tools were scattered across the driveway, and my son's apology began with the words, "You're probably going to be mad." He was correct. Very, very correct. This tournament wasn't worth repeating that experience. So I came up with another plan. He would come with me. The hotel had an indoor swimming pool, free breakfast, and a shopping district nearby. He could enjoy the weekend while I competed. When I told him, he looked up from his phone. Wait, you're serious? I already booked the room. So I don't have to stay with Uncle Mike? Nope. He smiled. Teenagers don't smile often. When they do, it's impossible to miss. Okay, he said, trying to sound casual. But only if the hotel breakfast has pancakes. I laughed. I think we can manage pancakes. For the first time in months, the weekend ahead didn't feel like another obligation. It felt like a chance. Not just to compete. Not just to bowl. But maybe, just maybe, to reconnect with the son who was growing up faster than I was ready to admit. The road ahead stretched farther than 3 hours. It stretched towards something neither of us could see yet. And neither of us knew that by the time the weekend ended, our lives would be changed in ways no bowling trophy could ever measure. The alarm rang at 6:30. For a few seconds, I had no idea where I was. The unfamiliar ceiling, the quiet hum of the hotel air conditioner, and the soft glow of early morning light slipping through the curtains reminded me we weren't home. We were 3 hours away from our little apartment, surrounded by strangers, with an entire weekend waiting for us. I stretched carefully, trying not to wake the ache that lived permanently in my shoulders after years of lifting patients during overnight shifts. Nursing had taught me many things. How to stay calm in chaos. How to recognize fear behind a smile. How to comfort people when there were no comforting words left. What it hadn't taught me was how to balance being a mother with remembering I was still a person myself. Today was my tournament. But before that, I was still mom. I walked quietly to the second bed where Ethan had somehow managed to wrap himself completely inside the blanket. Only a tuft of messy brown hair was visible. Ethan. No answer. I smiled. Ethan, breakfast. A muffled groan escaped from beneath the blanket. 5 more minutes. You said that 15 minutes ago. I wasn't serious then. You promised me pancakes. Silence. Then one eye appeared. They have pancakes? So I've been told. Within 30 seconds he was sitting upright, rubbing his eyes. Amazing what the word pancakes can accomplish. The hotel restaurant was already buzzing with families, athletes, and travelers. Some wore matching bowling jerseys like mine. Others looked as though they were beginning long vacations. The smell of fresh coffee drifted through the room. Ethan headed straight toward the pancake station. I wasn't surprised. His plate quickly became a tower of pancakes covered in syrup. I settled for eggs, fruit, and coffee. Lots of coffee. We found a table by the window. For a while neither of us spoke. It wasn't an awkward silence. It was comfortable. The kind that only exists between people who don't feel pressured to fill every moment with conversation. After finishing half his breakfast, Ethan finally looked up. So, are you nervous? I thought about it. A little. You'll probably win. I laughed. I appreciate the confidence. I'm serious. You've been practicing forever. I've also been working night shifts forever. He grinned. Fair point. For a moment, we simply watched the rain begin tapping gently against the windows. I've missed this, I said quietly. He looked confused. What? Just eating breakfast together. He shrugged. We should do it more. Such a simple sentence. Yet it landed heavier than he probably realized. Our schedules had stolen so many ordinary moments. I worked nights. He had school. Weekends disappeared beneath chores, homework, errands, and exhaustion. Somehow we'd become 2 people living in the same apartment, instead of sharing a life. Maybe this trip was exactly what we needed. After breakfast we walked through the hotel lobby. A large map highlighted nearby attractions. Ethan stopped in front of it. There. He pointed toward a shopping center only a few minutes away. They've got that gaming store I told you about. The one you've been talking about for months? He nodded. I know the tournament comes first. I checked the time. Warm-up wouldn't begin for another couple of hours. We've got time. His face lit up. You mean it? I mean it. Sometimes the greatest gifts aren't expensive. Sometimes they're simply saying yes. The shopping center wasn't crowded yet. Store employees were still unlocking doors as early customers wandered the halls. Ethan walked beside me instead of several steps ahead. That alone felt like a small miracle. Teenagers usually preferred pretending their parents didn't exist in public. We laughed at ridiculous window displays. He teased me for stopping inside a bookstore. I teased him for spending 20 minutes looking at collectible figurines he'd never actually buy. Eventually we reached the game store. The excitement in his eyes reminded me of Christmas mornings when he was 6 years old. He searched every shelf carefully. Then suddenly he froze. I found it. He carefully picked up a used copy of an older game he'd wanted for nearly a year. His smile slowly faded as he noticed the price. Never mind. I glanced at the tag. It was more expensive than I'd expected. Almost $60. He quietly placed it back. It's okay. No, I said. It's really okay. You've wanted this forever. He shrugged. You already paid for the hotel. And gas. And the tournament. I can wait. I stood there for several seconds. Money had been tight ever since the divorce. Every purchase meant sacrificing something else. I thought about all the overtime shifts I'd worked. The birthdays I'd spent inside hospital walls. The weekends I'd slept through because exhaustion had won. I wasn't buying a video game. I was buying a memory. I picked the case off the shelf. We'll take it. His eyes widened. Mom, it's okay. You don't have to. I know. That was exactly why I wanted to. The cashier placed the game into a small bag. Ethan carried it like